Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. So, much like a lot of the videos I have done recently, this is another one that is kind of a pointless video, but one of those that really does make you think, at least to me. I'm always curious and fascinated by different stats in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I really do want to kind of get into those kinds of videos. And so in this video, we are actually going to be looking at which protagonist's main ace monster has been used the most throughout the entire history of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. So it is important to note that some characters do have multiple aces, but we really are just looking at what's considered the main ace. So for Yusei, that's obviously Stardust Dragon. Is Junk Warrior another ace that he has? Absolutely, but we are only looking at Stardust Dragon for Yusei Fudo. Two characters where I actually am looking at two different aces are Judai and Yusaku. Judai, Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, was his ace for the first third of the show before being replaced by Neos, and Playmaker was always the debate of Decode Talker and Firewall Dragon. Had Firewall Dragon not been banned, it probably would have been Firewall, but yeah, those are the exceptions to the one ace per character that we are looking at. We are also looking at only one summon per duel, meaning if there was a duel where Stardust Dragon was summoned 4 times because it kept getting sent to the grave or, whatever the case was, we are only counting that as one duel. We are looking at how many times each ace was summoned per duel, and so if an ace monster was summoned outside of a duel for any weird reason, we're not counting that as well. We are also not counting variants, so we're not counting Utopia's variants or Firewall Exceed Dragon or anything like that. We are looking at the main ace monsters. Just as a reminder, it's Dark Magician, Neos, Flame Wingman, Stardust Dragon, Utopia, Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, Decode Talker and Firewall, and Seven's Road Magician. Without further ado, let's begin. I hope you guys enjoy. Coming in last is Playmaker's ace, Decode Talker, which was summoned in 11 different duels. So Decode Talker was kind of interesting because it was summoned 9 times in the first 46 episodes, but after that, it was only summoned twice in the entire post-season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns. Decode Talker was summoned against Kusanagi and in the final duel against Ai, but other than that, it was only summoned primarily in that first season. And if you think it's because Firewall Dragon replaced Decode Talker, you're absolutely wrong. Firewall Dragon was summoned a total of 5 times in Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns. In fact, one of those was against Go's Bounty Hunter, so I don't even know if that one really should count. It was summoned against Revolver in both of the Master Duels, Akira, and Go, and of course the Bounty Hunter. And episode 82 was the last appearance for Firewall Dragon, so Playmaker definitely had a lot of variety when it came to his aces, and these two are incredibly low compared to some of the other ones on this list. Number 6, Dark Magician, which was summoned in 23 different duels. Dark Magician has a lot of summons that I'm not counting. I'm not counting any of the times he was used in the movies, which happened quite a bit. I'm not counting the summons that happened when Yami-Yugi was versing the Great Leviathan or when he was in that virtual world post-Duelist Kingdom. I'm not counting the time Arcana summoned him because it's really just one Dark Magician being summoned, even though there's maybe a couple of variants to it. And I'm not counting the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime where it appeared twice. So Dark Magician is maybe low on this list, but there are a lot of summons that I'm not counting because I don't think they fit the criteria of this duel. And even though it is second last on this list, it still more than doubles Playmaker's Decode Talker in appearances. Number 5 is Seven's Road Magician, which was summoned in 25 different duels. So I was kind of surprised Seven's Road Magician was not near the bottom, and that's because Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's is the shortest Yu-Gi-Oh! To date, but I probably shouldn't be too surprised by this anymore because Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's had a good amount of duels in it because it focuses on rush duels, which take much quicker to complete than your traditional master duels. So Seven's Road Magician was summoned 25 times, and if you look at the arc layout, it's a little creepy. Each arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s is about 13 episodes on the dot, and Yuga summoned Seven Sword Magician in all 8 duels in the opening arc, and after that, it was a healthy and consistent dosage of 3 times in every single arc. Arc number 2, all the way through arc number 7, not counting arc number 5. So Seven Sword Magician is very consistently summoned throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, although its greatest cluster of appearances is absolutely in that first arc, and it was used 25 different times by Odo Yuga throughout 7s. Coming in fourth, Stardust Dragon, which appeared in 27 different duels. Stardust Dragon is really interesting because it only had 1 appearance in the first 22 episodes. The beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's, Stardust Dragon was really not utilized all that much until Yusei really used it against Aki, and then throughout the Dark Signers arc. It was summoned only 9 times in the first 64 episodes, and you can imagine how many times it was summoned after the Dark Signers arc. Stardust Dragon became a much more consistent staple in the latter half of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. I'm also not counting all of the riding duels as separate duels, so like Yusei versus Team Ragnarok only counts as 1 time Stardust Dragon was summoned, not 3 different times if he went up against 3 different opponents. And I don't think that was the case with Ragnarok. I'm just giving out a hypothetical. Stardust Dragon was actually summoned by 2 other characters as well, that being Jack Atlas and Aki, who summoned him once each. Number 3, Elemental Hero Neos, which appeared 34 times, and get this, Flame Wingman, which appeared 34 times as well. Now, I have gone back and looked at this data. I even got a couple of people to fact check me, so these numbers are very accurate. There might be a couple of, duels that I missed or maybe overcounted in, but it was really, really weird that Elemental Hero Neos and Flame Wingman both appeared in the same exact amount of duels. That's probably one of the freakier things that I've ever seen when compiling stats for a fun video like this. Elemental Hero Neos, which is Judai's true ace, didn't make its debut until episode 62, which is by far the latest episode debut we have ever had for any anime ace. I mean, for Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, that show was already 2/3 completed by the time episode 62 came around. It is crazy how late Judai got Neos in GX, and Flame Wingman was there for Judai throughout the entirety of GX. It's creepy that they both appear with 34 appearances, and I think this was probably most people's pick for number 1 or number 2. It was definitely mine just because of the amount of duels that Judai had, so I was a little surprised that this didn't even crack the top 2. Both of these come in number 3. Number 2, Odd Eye's Pendulum Dragon, which appeared in 38 different duels. You could argue that Odd Eye's Pendulum Dragon, along with the number 1 monster on this list, had the most consistent output of any of the ace monsters on this list. There were large gaps for Stardust Dragon. Seven Sword Magician is heavily skewed towards the beginning of the show. There were large gaps, of course, for Neos and for Decode Talker and Firewall. Odd Eye's Pendulum Dragon was very consistent throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. It was a staple monster that Yuya summoned in, I feel like, almost all of his duels, and so it's really not surprising to see it so high up on this list, but it does just miss out on being the ace monster that has been summoned in the most amount of duels by just a little bit. The ace monster that has appeared in the most amount of Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime duels is Utopia from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, which has appeared 43 times. This was mostly summoned by Yuma. However, it was summoned by Astral on 3 different occasions, and it was even summoned by Bronk and Flip. I forgot that Flip actually summoned this in the very, very early stages of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal against Yuma, but all of those do count, and it does lead Utopia to be the most utilized ace monster that we have ever seen. Utopia was my pick for number 1 or 2. I had this and Neos kind of both near the top, so it's not all that surprising that Utopia is up here. I think actually a big criticism of Yuma's dueling that I've seen from a lot of people is that a lot of his duels felt very repetitive and they felt very similar, and so maybe people that have that criticism when it comes to Yuma's duels aren't entirely wrong, with Utopia appearing 43 times. That's 4 times the amount that Decode Talker appeared, and it's almost double the amount that aces like Stardust, Dark Magician, and Seven's Road Magician all appeared as well. So maybe Yuma could have used a little more variety when it came to his duels, but I do feel like there were a lot of variants of Utopia and a lot of really cool Xyz monsters Yuma used on a pretty regular basis, to the point where I didn't really have that criticism regarding him, but I do remember that was a pretty big talking point of a lot of people that were not really too high on the duel writing when it came to Zexal and Yuma, and so maybe they do have a little bit of a point. However, regardless of your opinion on it, you cannot take away the statistical fact that Utopia is the most summoned and most utilized ace monster that we have ever seen in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh anime. And that about wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know a lot of people will probably say you should have included Junk Warrior as an honorable mention, and some other monsters maybe that were secondary aces, but I really did want to stick to the primary aces. The only reason I counted Judai for 2 different aces and Playmaker for 2 different aces were explained in the beginning, and hopefully you kind of, understand my reasoning and rationale on it. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think there's any correlation between the amount of times an ace monster is utilized and the dueling quality of that character? Do you prefer more variety, or do you just mark out every time you see a traditional ace monster summoned in a Yu-Gi-Oh duel? Let me know your thoughts on that down below in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Panther J, Blue Maiden 28, and Jarrett Buller, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood and Latrell Smith, and to my Egyptian God tier patrons, Ccapacappuuu and Syn Cloud. To everyone who supports me on Patreon, and to everyone who is a YouTube channel member, thank you so much. The extra support means the world to me, and it allows me to make videos on a semi-daily basis, and I am forever indebted to you guys. Seriously, thank you so much. And definitely check out my channel membership feature and my Patreon for some extra channel perks. And thank you guys all so much for watching. Please leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. Be sure to check out my channel for some more Yu-Gi-Oh anime content, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.